So it's going to be Gianna and I presenting tonight. So for those of you who I haven't had the opportunity to get to meet yet, my name is Amanda. I'm one of the dietitians here with the practice. Gianna, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Gianna. I'm also one of the registered dietitians here with Functional. So excited to work with you guys.
Yes, so some of you may have seen you received some emails from Gianna, so she's working with our team now, and she's going to be helping out along the way with presentations and just helping to answer any questions in the group chat as we go along. So without further ado, I'd like to kick off at right on time. So welcome to our Functional 2024 wellness program. So I want to just do a little housekeeping in the beginning today. So we're going to go over the program, and then we have a couple of different segments for today. We'll go into body composition, mindset, goal setting, logging, and we'll finish off with the Mediterranean diet, which is an anti-inflammatory diet that we're going to be, curtailing our program towards this month. So of course, this is going to be a 4 month long program, 4 months, sorry, 4 week long program. We're going to have our first intro session tonight, and then we will follow up, of course, in 2 weeks on the 21st with a touch base. We do encourage you guys to utilize the group chat if you have questions that are not private. So just in case you have the same question as somebody else, it's really important to share that, of course, in the chat. But of course, anything cool that you see or recipes that you're making that you like, or things that can just further pump up the group. So with the program, the first 1 to 2 weeks, you've already seen your first module was released, and on Fridays, just to be ahead of the game to give everybody some time for meal preparation, we're releasing the recipes on Fridays. However, the technical start of each week will be considered Monday, just to go in line with tonight being our kickoff night. So if you haven't received those recipes yet, they were sent out through Practice Better. Please reach out to myself via email, or you can call our office or text. If you have any difficulty accessing that, I want to make sure that everyone gets those. That's super important. Christina, our fabulous owner, helped to actually attach that into your Practice Better account, which I'll go over later. So that could be utilized for food logging if that's something you'd like to do. For a little housekeeping, of course. We're going to go over, of course, the Mediterranean diet. That's a part of this program. You've also seen when that module was released, some more information on the program and the Mediterranean diet and a couple of forms. Those forms are not required to be filled out about like goal setting, SMART goal setting, habit tracking. However, we put those in there to assist you guys. And of course, the more you utilize the program and the things that we provide to everybody, I feel the more likely we are to have success, right? Because we're taking a moment to fill out those cheat sheets for ourselves that are attached on, 1 to 2 goals that we want to try to realistically see ourselves attaining in the next 1 to 2 weeks. If we were not able to get that done yet, there is no pressure because we want to go over goal setting and a few things tonight so that we can set those goals later on, and we'll check in throughout the course of the program. Are we achieving those goals? And then how do we want to build upon them? So later in the program, the first 2 weeks will be, of course, about macronutrients, which are our larger nutrient groups like calories, carbs, fats, proteins. By macronutrient, it just means they're needed in a larger quantity in the diet. And then in the third week, we'll go into micronutrients and then phytonutrients in the fourth week. Uh, we are going to provide you guys with a bonus presentation next week on more in depth on macronutrients because we have about 45 minutes tonight. We have a lot of information to pack in, and we don't want to rush or go too fast through different things and have people miss information. So that will be a recording that you can listen to like a podcast or a YouTube video on your own at your calm time for you. Again, weekly recipes each Friday. We're going to go over practical strategies for food logging. So part of this program is going to include access to Practice Better and/or Chronometer if food logging is something that you would like to do. And we'll go over ways today to make it faster and more efficient and easy to use. And then we will also provide a video on how to utilize those digital food logging services for us. Of course, we have the group me, which is not required. Nothing is required per se, but again, the more you utilize the tools and strategies provided, the more likely I feel we are to achieve our goals. So please utilize it. It's here for you. So the group me is available. And I know we said the deadline was today for the in-body measurement, but if we have any last-minute stragglers that would like to get in for the in-body this week, just let us know. We're located at 41 John Street. Functional Nutrition is located inside Elevation Fitness. So if you do not know what an in-body measurement is, in-body is just the brand name of the machine. It's a device that utilizes biological impedance analysis. It's accurate enough for us to use for CDC or NIH funded studies. So it's about 99% accurate. And it's not DEXA, which is the level above biological impedance, but it will measure muscle, skeletal muscle, body fat, visceral fat, provide you with a basal metabolic rate, so about how many calories you kind of need just to lay in bed and sustain life. If you do update that measure, let us know. We can also help track that because we plan to try to see how much the group works together to achieve different goals. So by the end of the program, we want to try to provide you guys with information on how much muscle we gained as a group or how much body fat we lost as a group. So if that's something you're interested in, just give us a shout. And then the main reasons that we had behind forming this program is to help support you guys in our community in building sustainable, realistic habits to help us build towards long-term wellness. And of course, we always want to start the year off on the right foot. So this isn't necessarily a diet, but it's a kickoff to a year of building upon our goals. So next, we just want to make sure everyone marks their calendar. So if you haven't already, please, place in your calendar the dates for the next presentations. So it's going to be January 21st. So not this Monday, the following Monday. We wanted to make it 7, so just in case 6 is a little harder for some individuals, whether there's different practices or extracurriculars we're trying to drive around to, we made it at 7, and then again at 6 for the final presentation leading us into our 4th week. We will provide recordings. Honestly, YouTube's been a lot faster for me with uploading, so I'm gonna, post them as soon as I can get YouTube to process them, and I'll send that out as an email to everybody. And then just to be extra safe, I'm going to put the YouTube link into the module for each week as well. Again, recipes will be shared through Practice Better, and it will come up as an email on your phone each Friday, and Monday will be the start of each week. So how to actively participate, like I've been saying, the group me, if you want a food log, or I will also attach a template for if you want a paper log. Sometimes we like to just hand journal, and that's okay too. The best food log is going to be the log that you're going to most consistently use, right? And everyone's goals are different. Some people want to track their protein or their fiber or their calories. Some people just want to keep conscious of how many fruits and vegetables they're eating. So maybe a paper journal could be good for that. We want to review shared recipes each week and celebrate progress. So I think it's one thing that's super important is to set intentions or goals for what you want to get out of this. And we will talk about that more, of course, throughout the presentation. So just to talk about body composition versus weight loss. So we want to definitely try to promote, and when we did your macros for those individualized like meal planners, portion planners, we had body recompositioning or weight loss in mind for those who had noted that in the goal section of their Google form. So body recompositioning is different from weight loss. It's healthier, it's better for long-term weight loss, meaning that it focuses on gaining muscle while losing body fat versus just indiscriminate weight loss. Don't care if it's muscle, don't care if it's fat, because the problem with that is as we lose muscle, our metabolism actually drops. This is why men tend to have a faster metabolic rate than women because they have more testosterone. More testosterone leads to more muscle mass. More muscle means we have a faster metabolic rate. So when we focus on body recompositioning, it's going to be more likely for us to maintain the weight loss that we had already had lifelong. So when you study people who did like Biggest Loser competition, for example, they tend to gain the weight back and then some because they had lost that muscle. So then their metabolism drops, which means the amount of calories they could take in drops. And then when that restriction is over, they tend to gain that weight back and then some, because now their calorie needs are even less than what it was when they started. We also like to set realistic goals for everybody. So about a 5 to 10% total weight loss is likely to produce benefits for, blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar, if that is one of your goals. A realistic goal and a healthy goal is about half a pound to 2 pounds per week. If we start losing, like, maybe in the beginning, if someone loses 5 pounds, okay. But if consecutively someone has like a 5, 10 pound weight drop each week, that sounds like a good thing. But often it means the person's losing the wrong kind of weight, like muscle, and it's not likely to be as sustainable long term. And of course, health is wealth. Muscle is the foundation of youth, I like to say, or the fountain of youth, meaning that the more muscle you have, the more you have of metabolically active tissue, meaning that that tissue is actively burning sugar for us. So people who have more muscle have a better likelihood of reducing risk for, say, diabetes, for example. People who tend to yo-yo diet a lot and lose muscle often when they're losing weight, often that muscle doesn't just come from skeletal muscle, but can come from cardiac muscle. So that's why you see risks for heart failure in chronic yo-yo dieters, because if you're losing muscle, it could come from skeletal muscle, smooth muscle that helps to contract our organs, or cardiac muscle. So just to give you guys a little background, so we tried to keep you guys in a protein surplus, meaning that we want to feed your muscles, right? But a calorie deficit. So depending on your activity and your needs, we reduced calories from fat or carbs, or a combination, to put you into that calorie deficit while still feeling full off of that protein and fiber. So this is always a really healthy trick to keep protein and fiber high so you feel full while in a calorie deficit, so we're not feeling deprived as well. Of course, fat is not the devil. We want to have fat on our body to an extent. Women, we don't want body fat ever less than about 13 to 15%. Men, less than about 7 or 8%, because we need that cushion for catastrophe, especially as we get older, to protect us from falls. Helps to store energy. It helps to insulate us, especially now it's those super cold months. And of course, it helps for storage and absorption of our fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K. So these are just some recommended percent muscle mass for individuals based on our age group on the left. And then as we go across, we see the column for women and for men. So you would do your total muscle over your total weight to get that percent. If anyone has questions, we could always touch on this on an individual basis. That's not a problem. Just shoot me an email or a message, and I'm here to help out with that. So without further ado, next slide, the body fat ideal percentages. So it depends on where you're pulling this from. Every organization can be a little different based on like 1 or 2%. We use the American Council on Exercise. In general, for women, we want to try to be under 30 to 32% body fat. For men, on average, we want to try to be under 21 or 24%. Now, for many people, it might be far off, or it might be really close. So we also want to compete with our personal selves. So that could always be a long-term goal, and we want to chip away at 1 to 2% per month, for example. Of course, there's the different categories like fitness and athletes, but in general, for women under 30 to 32%, and for men under 21 to about 24% is the general rule of thumb. So we touched a bunch on muscle mass. So like I said earlier, muscle is our metabolic motor, helps us to burn more sugar at rest, just standing here being alive. So if I had a pound more muscle on me, say that pound of muscle, let me grab a calculator, is burning me an extra 15 calories per day. But that might not sound like a lot. When I do 15 times 365, that can burn me about 5,000, let's round 5,500 calories per year. Wait, that didn't make sense. Hold on, 15 times. And then say I divide that by 3,500 calories. That's about how many calories it takes to burn a pound. Having added that muscle, because it increases my metabolism and my metabolic rate, just sitting there being alive and having that muscle on my body can burn me about 1.5 pounds of body fat per year. So that's kind of how adding weight in terms of muscle may also help with losing body fat, not to mention the extra energy that it can give us. So a decline in muscle can also cause a decline in us as we age. Of course, we want to think about risks for falls as we get older, because even though for myself at my age, I want to try to pack on as much muscle healthfully as I can now, because we all lose about 10% muscle every 10 years, right? And we want to take advantage of adding as much as we can now, because it does get harder over time, but it is actually a myth that we can't gain muscle as we get older. We also do help to monitor hormones at Functional Nutrition. So if you do work with us one-on-one, we do help to analyze lab work to help, of course, with this, and of course with natural ways in conjunction with your medical provider. Now, the muscle mass also has been shown to have decreased risk for obesity as we get older too. And if we want to walk at 90, the more that we have now is going to give us a greater foundation as we get older, and we deduce that 10% each year, every 10 years, I should say. So next, I'm going to toss it to Gianna. Gianna is going to cover us for some awesome mindset slides right now.
Thank you for the toss. So, like you could see here, what I'm going to be talking about for the next few slides or so is going to be all about your why and why you signed up for this, why you want to change your health, your body composition, all these things. And so let's just dive into it, Amanda, if you want to go to the next slide.
Absolutely. Oh, sorry, a little vigorous. There we go.
A little weaker. Okay, so right here, as you can see, we're looking at your intrinsic motivation, or that internal, versus the extrinsic motivation, or the external. So the most realistic way that you're going to be able to achieve your goals is when we're focusing on our intrinsic motivation. So this is about how, like you could see, and it says, I love running because of how it makes me feel. When you're focused on the why for reaching your goals with, I want to work out because I want to be able to throw my grandson in the air when we're playing in the pool when I'm in my 60s and my 70s. I want to work out and build more muscle because if I fall down and no one else is home, I want to be able to get myself back up and be okay, or carry all my groceries in without needing all the extra support or help, and be able to get around the house safely. That's why these goals of building muscle mass, like Amanda was saying, over just focusing on weight loss at any cost and no matter what muscle loss you have, is so important. And also, when we're not focusing so much on the aesthetic and about looking great for the summer, like it says, chasing that carrot on the stick, we're competing with others, there's going to be this fear of failure in our minds, and we're going to be focusing on being perfect, and I have to achieve these goals, I have to get this certain body, otherwise XYZ. When you're on that like brink or the edge, or you're almost at the edge of a cliff, you're so close to falling off the cliff, if you make a wrong move, we're never going to achieve our goals. So like you could see in the next slides, it's all going to be about focusing on consistency over perfection, and really taking the mindset away from how am I going to look in front of other people? How is this person at work going to view me when I lose all this weight? Because at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter, and no one is going to be looking that much, because when we're all getting older, what's going to matter more is how you feel, and that's what's going to impact you the most.
I completely agree, Gianna. And just to build off that too, exactly. It's all about that intrinsic motivation. That should be your main driver. It's okay. I always say like a sprinkle, right? Like it's okay to sprinkle some extrinsic motivators, whether that's like a cruise and I want to feel comfortable in my best self on the cruise, or I want to, do a 5K or a triathlon or whatever those external drivers are. But exactly, if we hold ourselves to, I want to look good in this dress for this wedding, and that's it. Once that wedding comes, all right, we reach that point, but sometimes people fail to keep going, and it's that intrinsic drive that keeps us going.
Yeah, exactly. And like you're saying, there's nothing wrong with wanting to maybe change the way you look, or wanting to feel a little more confident in a bathing suit or a dress, but we have to find some more motivation internally and honestly physiologically to set these goals long term. You can go to the next one.
Beautiful.
So like we were just saying, don't go for perfection, go for consistency. I'm sure we may all be familiar with the classic cycle of yo-yo dieting and weight loss and weight gain and what happens where, okay, you bring yourself, I believe to be, or I know myself looking at my weight, I'm overweight. I'm going to start dieting. I'm going to start this 1200 calorie diet. I'm not going to let myself eat any cookies or cakes or brownies or ice cream or pizza ever. I'm going to eat all my fruits and vegetables and nothing else. What happens then when we've cut all these foods of our total calorie intake? You're going to be feeling a little deprived. We're not really having much balance. We're only eating all these foods that may not be giving us enough energy. You may lose a lot of weight in the beginning, have some short-term success, although a fair amount of this may also just be water weight. Keep in mind that's often what happens when we have a very restrictive diet short term, when a lot of the weight could be water weight that you're losing. And then eventually, like you're seeing, these cravings are going to come back. So, like it says, our health and our nutrition is not an on off switch. It's definitely much more of a dimmer. We have to sort of shift away from this black and white thinking and sort of be okay with living in the gray and focusing on that consistency. Because if you're viewing your diet as black and white, and either I'm on my diet and I'm perfect, or I'm off and I don't care what I eat, you know what, I had the cookie, so screw it, let me have 10 more cookies. We're never going to build that success long term. And I always think of it like, if you accidentally spilled a drop of water on your desk, would you just go say screw it and spill the whole bottle on your desk? You would absolutely not do that. You would wipe off the water and then go back up about the rest of your day and keep going. So if while you're in your diet and you're just focusing on consistency, you have a day where you have a little bigger of a splurge meal, or maybe you're celebrating someone's birthday, you have a piece of cake. We don't beat ourselves up about it. We say, okay, I'm having this thing. How can I work with it? And then get back on track the next day. You can go to the next. So like I was saying before, say no to the yo-yo. We don't want to be having too restrictive of a diet and having our weight cycle too far up and down. Not only is this just going to lead to these feelings of dissatisfaction with your body weight and feeling like you didn't achieve your goals, this can actually have serious long-term effects on our health, including this muscle loss, increased body fat percentage, the risk of developing certain chronic diseases like fatty liver, diabetes, heart failure, hypertension. And then, of course, these mental effects too. It's going to be causing this self-doubt. You're going to be feeling really down, like, oh, I can't achieve my goal. I lose the weight and then I gain it all back and then some. And like it says, you're going to gain more weight over time. So we have to focus on really building that consistency and working with our diet in a way of allowing there to be balance and allowing there to be foods that can include the birthday cake or the chips with the sandwich in moderation with everything, like you guys know. And really, it's a lot of things with nutrition are more mindset focused than we may think. It's not just about the behaviors and focusing on changing what we're eating, but it's our mindset. Because the second you develop that mindset of this black and white mentality with our eating, it doesn't matter how healthy you may be trying to be. If you feel like internally your diet is off or like the light switch is off, it's never going to be sustainable long term. You can go to the next one. So, like we were saying, in an ideal world, maybe weight loss would look like the picture on the left. There's never any issues. It never plateaus or goes back up. We never have any problems. But like life, it's not perfect. We're going to have spikes. We're going to have plateaus. You may have some big drops too. It's going to be pretty unpredictable, which is why, like we've been saying, you focus on that consistency and trying to stick to the plan as much as you can within reason without driving yourself crazy to really achieve success long term. The next one. So, like I've been saying, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, aim for this consistency, not perfection, and have these healthy concessions, are calling them. So if you're at a dinner, you're having dinner at home with your partner, and you have a glass of wine, you could say, okay, I'm still going to have this drink with dinner, but I'm going to make sure I pair it with a meal with a lot of protein. We're going to have our grilled chicken. I'm going to have a huge half of my plate be filled with all our Brussels sprouts and veggies so that I know that I am still meeting my goals with the balance of allowing myself to have that glass of wine at dinner. And the same with this other one, because it can include physical fitness as well. I want to watch this extra show tonight with my partner, but before we do that, after I eat dinner, I'm going to go on this 30-minute walk, because not only is this going to be helping me reach my physical goals, but it's also just going to help with my digestion and blood sugar, getting that post-meal walk. So really, like we're saying, try to see the big picture with your meals rather than focusing on the one meal or snack. It's the same with that black and white mentality. If you focus or obsess over that one meal or snack where you feel it was a splurge, or maybe you had something you shouldn't have, it's not really going to be sustainable, because when you zoom out and you take that bird's eye view, think of how many meals you have in a year. I mean, there's 365 days in a year. If we multiply that by 3 meals, that's over 1,000 meals in a whole year. If you think one meal out of over 1,000 is really going to make or break us, that's going to be a little silly. So focus on the big picture and trying to be as consistent as we can long term, rather than so nitpicky. I mean, like it says, it's not the ketchup, it's the fries. You go to the next one. And then this is the same thing here, you know, don't let social media or groups of people around you get you and have this herd mentality. Just because something's working for one person doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. Nutrition and health is probably the most individualized thing in the world. One diet plan is not going to work for everyone. That is why we sent you all individual emails with different calorie meal plans, because if we sent all of you one 1,800 calorie meal plan, that wouldn't work or be sustainable. For some of you, it would be too much or too little, or maybe it wouldn't have the right ratio of macros. This is going to be incredibly individualized. So just keep, in a sense, your tunnel vision locked in on your own goals and what's going to work for you. And don't worry about what's working for someone else, because we also don't know the full story. And while maybe, like you said, these people are doing intermittent fasting, that could just be for potentially religious reasons for them. You don't know why they're doing it, or maybe they're not doing it for weight loss, or maybe someone else is drinking apple cider vinegar to lose weight, but it wasn't actually the apple cider vinegar that helped them lose weight. It was a million other things they did that they didn't tell you. So focus on listening to the advice you're getting from professionals in your own individual meal plans. Don't worry about all the chatter around you, because it doesn't matter. You go to the next one. And so, like we were saying, what that consistency is going to look like, or what you should do, is if your maintenance calories are at 2,000, weekly average is about 1,700, you're going to have fat loss, rather than having your weekly average be the 2,000, the same as your maintenance. Because if you're fighting that weekend weight gain all week with either binge eating or drinking because of restriction, you're never going to achieve these goals long term. It doesn't matter how perfect you may feel during the week. Oh, I had my salad every single day. I didn't touch a single carb. I didn't touch a single thing of sugar. If on the weekends you're going double or triple what you're having during the week, it's like offsetting all of your hard work all week. So try to stay on track, honor your cravings, think about how this is going to impact you. And like we also said, try not to have those 2 splurge meals in a row and have that effort mindset. Like on the weekends, that can often happen, because then it's like voiding all of that hard work you put in during the week. We can go to the next one. And finally, you know, like we've been saying, don't focus on restricting, don't focus on subtraction, focus on addition. What can I add to my diet? Can I add more fruits and vegetables? Can I add an extra lean protein, rather than, oh, I drink too much soda, I have to cut out all this, I have to cut out this. Just having that negative mentality, it's never going to be beneficial for achieving our goals, and just speaking down to yourself that way. And that's going to apply to all areas of your life. Yes, nutrition with what we're focusing on right now, but like it says in here, oh, I'm watching too much television, I'm ordering food out way too much. Focus on, okay, whether or not that may be true, can we instead say, I want to add in 3 more home cooked meals during the week? You can go to the next one. And like I was just saying, you know, I'm not going to be repetitive. Focus on addition, increase your produce during the week, increase your daily protein at your meals, increase activities that are going to involve just getting a higher total daily energy expenditure, just to make this weight loss even easier if that is one of your goals. Water intake, use a reusable water bottle. It's one of the easiest ways to do it. And just spend a little bit more time meal prepping and grocery shopping. It could realistically only take a couple hours out of a whole week, and that's just going to set you up for the whole week. It's going to be so unbelievably worth it. You the next one. Okay, and then I don't remember if this one, going back to you, Amanda.
I'll take it. I got you. So thank you, G. That was awesome. So with that being said, this year we're setting intentions and goals, right? So they're going to matter in our wellness. So like an intention is I'm intending to gain muscle and lose body fat, right? So it's like a joke sometimes with dietitians because it's like does entire heart health education talking about increasing fiber and losing and deducing saturated fat. And then you ask, hey, what's your goal? Oh, lose weight. And it's like, okay, wait, but like, how are we going to do it? What's the action that we're going to take, right? So that's the goal. So it provides clarity and focus to your journey, right? So if the doctor just tells someone, hey, I want you to lose weight, you're like, all right, that's great, but how do you want me to do it, right? So it's going to complete the process by helping us know what we're focusing our intentions on. Am I focusing on losing weight by increasing my water? Am I going to be focusing on increasing my protein? Goals transform your intention into actionable steps. Goals come in different sizes and there's different methods to measure. So in terms of what is our success, what is success in nutrition? So I used to work for a research program and that would always drive our medical director nuts because he's like, well, is the goal to get people off their medication? Is the goal to lose weight? Is the goal to have reduction in, acid reflux symptoms, et cetera, for the clinic that we were working in? And it's kind of like success is depending on what you're focusing your intention on, but also it's a conglomerate of things. So if you're focusing on overall trying to be a happier, healthier person, we want to think about, all right, is my body comp going the direction I want to go? Am I gaining muscle, losing body fat? Is my energy good? Do I feel good? Is my digestion good? Am I sleeping better? Am I eating more fruits and vegetables? Am I having more protein in my day? That abundance and gratitude mindset. And overall, because I'm feeling better, my anthropometric data, which is like weight, body comp, etc. And, is my labs getting better? You look at, there's all these different ways to measure what is success to us. So, of course, if all those data points are moving in the right direction, that's going to tell you, that things are going according to your plan. But when you're focusing on too many data points, it could be very overwhelming. So if you're focusing on, I want to increase, muscle mass and lose body fat. So a great place to start is, can I focus on increasing my water to be consistently about half my body weight in fluid ounces? Am I having at least 100 grams of protein per day or reaching the protein that was outlined for me in my meal planner? Or am I getting, 2 to 3 servings at least of fruits and vegetables in my day? So it gives you something to actively measure. And then okay, did I hit my goal? Did my body fat go down? Yes or no. So it can tell you objectively as you go along, am I going the right path versus losing weight? And weight loss, it doesn't tell you much, right? Like, because our body, our weight is made up of muscle, fat, bone, water, right? 3 out of the 4, you want to be thick, you want muscle, you want bone, you want to be hydrated. It's just the body fat we're trying to deduce. So we kind of have to get a little more analytical with it sometimes to see, all right, am I going the right direction? Like, for example, I have a client I personal train and see for nutrition. She gained 12 pounds of muscle and lost 12 pounds of body fat. So if weight was her measure of success and she let that, be what motivated her, then she would have been like, "Oh, I didn't go the right direction." But meanwhile, when she gained that 12 pounds of muscle and lost 12 pounds of body fat, her thyroid got better, her hormone profile got better. She physically feels better. She has more energy. And of course, there's that aspect. Everyone wants to look good naked, right? That's why people go to the gym. She physically looked better and felt better and was more comfortable in her clothing. But if she hung her cap up on just the weight, it might have, set her back a little bit and caused like a psychological drop in her motivation and stopping when she was in good momentum. So I think perspective is really important and understanding what your measures are. So it helps to align your day-to-day choices with our long-term intentions. So turning intentions into actions, manifestation is about aligning your mindset into action. So talk about it, be about it. There's actual research that if you share and write down your goals and make it tangible with other people, that's why we have you guys, look at those worksheets. And if you want to use them, that's wonderful because you're more likely to achieve your goals the more people you tell your goals to or you write them out. But of course, don't tell it to Moody Judy in the office who's only going to bring you down. Be careful who you share your goals with, and share it with people that you feel comfortable with. Consistency is key, just like Gianna was saying. It's 80-20 mindset. So if I hang my cap up, a lot of people do this with really good intentions. We're all New Yorkers here, I think. Most of us are been New Yorkers. We aim for that 110% all the time, athlete mindset. And okay, it comes from a really great, hardworking, well-intentioned place, but we might as well just shoot ourselves in the foot now because it's unrealistic to be 100, 110%, 100% of the time. It usually lasts 30%. I've seen it my whole life with people. And myself, I used to do that. But if we can be 80%, mentally, it's easier, it's less stressful. And 80% can often, you can keep the ball in the air longer, more consistent, 100% of the time, say. So, you know, if you believe it, you will achieve it. I know I sound hokey, but I firmly, firmly think that if you keep it on your mind, you talk about it, you be about it, it happens for us. So this is just a cute manifestation. Some people like these cards. There is actual benefits to having these affirmation cards in your, bathroom each morning to pull a card, set your intentions for the day, keep yourself on paths. But, this could be something that you recite to yourself each morning or during your day to reaffirm yourself. Vision boards are great because now, one, you're taking a moment to really sit with your goals, visualize your goals. What does it look like to get to my goals? What steps will I have to take? And then if you make a vision board or some kind of, honestly, if you really, if this is overkill with a vision board for some, sometimes I tell people put a picture on the back of your lock screen of your phone. Think about how often you look at your phone every day. It's just putting that intention back on front of mind. It's not that we don't know what we're doing, but sometimes we lose sight of it and get focused with other things. But I love having like a vision board night as a fun way to ring in the new year if, going out and, doing certain things is not your cup of tea. 'Tis the season. So what we mean about this is the time of year that everyone's kind of going inward. There isn't as much social things going on, less temptations like during the summer months from Memorial Day to Labor Day. So this is the time people tend to go, inward. And something I've always liked is when, you talk about trees this time of year, they look weak and dormant, but really they're actually at their strongest point because they're focusing on bringing their nutrients down to their roots to repair themselves so that when spring comes, they're their, best beautiful selves. So take advantage of the time now to, you know, go inward these next couple weekends, weeks to really focus on the goals and things you want to do while we might have some more free time and not have as much, social events going on. This is the time of year that the sun starts to lengthen. So I always just see it from that abundance mindset. We get more and more light each day. We're growing and becoming stronger each day. So when creating a new routine, so when you fill out those goal cheat sheets and you're writing down those, 1 to 3 goals that you want to try to see at least in the next 2 weeks. And then if you accomplish that, we set some new goals, right? You want to think, what's my main health and wellness intention for 2025? Is it the body composition? Is it the blood pressure? Is it the blood sugars? Is it digestive health? Is it better relationship with food? There's so many intentions that we can set. And then we say, what actions will help support this goal? So if my goal is to regulate my thyroid and to deduce my cortisol so that it could help me with, better body composition results, I'm not going to make my goal do HIIT training 5 times a week, or I'm not going to make my goal, to keep my calories at 1,000 calories, right? That's not going to really align with my intention. So you want to try to pick goals that will support you in achieving your overall intention. So if someone's focusing on increasing muscle, of course, focusing on protein is great. If someone's trying to focus on reducing body fat, focusing on fiber from like fruits and vegetables, beans, nuts, and seeds can really also help to fill us up on low calorie foods that are nutrient dense, like fruits and vegetables. What support you have, right? Whenever you're trying to start a new routine, you try to think about where can I pull my support or my resources from, what's available to me. That's what we got going on here. So please don't be a stranger. We will address the group chat. I saw a couple messages going up that I plan to pop into the chat tonight. I try to look at it at least once a day. So if you have a question that's worth not work, but that you want the whole group to know about, let us know. But if it's one-on-one, like I said, and you want to keep private, that's okay too. Just send us a message on Practice Better, because if it's private, it's probably HIPAA related. So that's all HIPAA compliant on there. Jot down your intention and share if comfortable. So in the chat tonight, if you want to voice it out and write it down and say, hey, this is my goal. This is what I'm trying to focus on. Sometimes I like to share that with people because sometimes I wouldn't mind being called out. I'll often tell my fiance, like, hey, trying to drink more water on the weekends. I'm pretty consistent during the work week, but the weekends I notice I'm slacking. So if I say that to him, he might call me out and be like, hey, I noticed your water bottle's, pretty full still. So get at it. So you never know who's going to support you. So you want to nurture those intentions. So tips for staying on track is to break your intentions into specific measurable goals, which we'll get to. Track your progress and adjust your actions as needed. So if you don't hit your goal right away, like maybe this week your goal is to increase water consumption or increase your steps, right? If we don't hit it, it's not that, oh, it's forgone. We got to ask ourselves, what is the barrier that I'm realistically coming into? Do I need to scale that wall, blow that wall apart, go around the wall, go under the wall? But first, you got to know what the barrier is that you're running into so that we can figure out a way around it. And of course, build a support system. Hey, is anybody else struggling with this aspect? Because if someone else is, then great. There's support in having a team, and then you can always ask for help, right? We don't have to go it alone. We're always better as a team. We all know that. There's no I in team. So reflect regularly. Are my actions aligning with my goals? Is my present self helping my future self? So staying mindful, staying grounded, trying to avoid ourselves getting caught in that autopilot. Meditation's really great for this. Wellness is a journey, not a destination. Stay consistent and enjoy the process. So, like we're saying, SMART goals, we have that worksheet that really helps to break it apart. But I like to say, be as specific as we can, right? It goes back to my goal is lose weight. Well, okay, that's great. What am I going to do that, right? So, specific could be my goal is to start strength training. All right, that's measurable, right? So, how am I going to measure the strength training? Am I going to measure it based on how much weight I'm gradually starting to increase, or am I going to measure it based on how many occurrences I go to the gym? That's always great too. Okay, am I at, 1 day per week for 30 minutes strength training? Now my goal is going to be 2 times per week, 30 minutes strength training. That's measurable, specific. It's an action, right? If did I do it or did I not do it, right? Is it realistic? Have I ever strength trained before? Do I like doing this? And time bound. I'm going to try to achieve that goal within 2 weeks, and then I'll reevaluate if I want to increase from there or stay there for a little bit and focus on just consistency there. But it's great to reflect upon, this pattern of thinking each week. And sometimes it's great just to put this as the background of your phone as like a little, reminder to oneself too. So these are just some examples where to start. I want this to be actually even more specific, but it's just a great tool to, propel our thinking, our brainstorming. So where do I start? Pick 2 goals in the blue bars. So do I want to track my food? Do I want to take more steps? Do I want to resistance train? Do I want to eat more fruits and vegetables, eat more protein, drink more water? Notice none of these things are about restriction. They're all about abundance and gratitude mindset. It's all about what to add versus what to take away because we don't like rules. We tend to want to do what we know we're not supposed to do. So if you're thinking in positive, how should I say this? So I was a lacrosse goalie. So with that being said, I was taught they made us do like a mental workshop because it is such a mental position in college that you can't say don't let the ball in, don't let the ball in, don't let the ball in. Your brain's not going to think in negatives. Your brain's not going to think that way. It's going to interpret it as let the ball in, let the ball in, let the ball in, and it psychologically messes you up. But if you're thinking about it as step forward, stop the ball, put your stick there high, track the shot, you're going to be more likely to have a positive mindset of actually stopping it versus, don't eat the sugar, don't eat the chocolate, you know, don't sit down and watch TV after work because it's going to just put that concept on your mind to do it that, think about it in the positive, have those fruits and vegetables, have that protein, but be specific about it. I'm going to have berries in my oatmeal in the morning as a way to get my fiber and my fruits up. Or I'm going to make sure to have at least, a palm's worth of protein at my lunch each day because I notice that's where I tend to not have enough protein in my day. So if I just focus on that one spot, stay consistent on that one spot for 2 weeks, nail it, stay consistent with that, and then add another goal on from there versus focusing on 5 to 10 things at once, and then you don't, it's harder to track and harder to implement and add in. It's overwhelming. Next is food logging and mindfulness. So we do encourage you guys to food log if that's something you're interested in. The reason why we like food logging, it's not just so much from the, okay, how many grams of protein have I had a day? Did I have, 1,800 calories or 1,850 calories? It's not, yes, that stuff is helpful, but it depends on the level to which you've already been working down this wormhole of nutrition. But the reason why I like the food logging is it's awareness, right? So it's aware of what we're doing, right? If we don't know what we're doing or what we're taking in each day, it's really hard to find the low-hanging fruit that is easy to capitalize in terms of our goals. It's great accountability, right? It's the I bite it, I write it. I also like it because if I walk past the candy ball and grab that chocolate kiss that calls our name when we walk by it, I eat it and it goes away. It's not tangible, it's not physical. Logging it is a great way to make that choice real. And then we have to sit with that choice and not from a way of, feeling bad or guilty. That should never be the case. But just to be like, oh, I notice every time I walk past this candy bowl, I'm grabbing, a chocolate kiss, and that adds up to about 5 a day. If I could at least like change my walking path or, tell myself, no, I don't need that. It doesn't even taste good to me. It doesn't feel good. I don't want it. It just helps to, acknowledge that it's even happening because often we just move on with our day and go on to the next thing. It provides understanding and clarity, keeps us present, breaks the autopilot, I like to say, allows us to track our goals. Did I hit my protein or did I not? It's very, black and white in terms of did I hit the measure or did I not hit the measure? Well, at least am I getting close to it or am I really far off? If I'm very far off all the time, do I need to adjust my goals? There's connection between one's food choices and their feelings, so it can also help with pattern recognition in terms of if I notice every time there's a really stressful day at work, I go home and I have X, Y, and Z takeout. It can be really good to say, all right, well, I'm noticing that there's a trend with this. So maybe I need to focus on my stress management and having some meal prep available for myself for when I get home from work. So mindful logging, it could start off as, just having a little journal in the notes of our phone, a piece of paper we jot on, just I ate about a half a cup of yogurt plus, half a banana plus about a tablespoon of walnuts, right? It doesn't have to be exact, but something is better than nothing kind of mindset. Another common thing that people will use if they don't feel quite ready to, weigh foods or measure with teaspoons or cups, it's the hand method of portioning, or we call it lending a hand with portioning. So you could see with this cheat sheet, it's not perfect, don't get me wrong, but like I said, something is always better than nothing. That like one fist is about 1 cup, one thumb is about a tablespoon, I'd say the pointer finger to about your first knuckle is about a teaspoon. Your palm, depending on the individual, is about 3-4 ounces. Sometimes I'll say, you know, look at what an actual 3-4 ounces is and then actually compare it to your hand so that you have a realistic visual to continue to compare to, and so on and so forth. But there's all different types of journals. With our electronic medical record and scheduling app, Practice Better, it also has a food log in it. So with Practice Better, we did something new this challenge, or program, I should say, in that the recipes each week are already added to your journal. You're welcome. It saves us so much time because when you go to press recipes, all the nutrition facts for everything is already in there. You just have to put the portion that you already had. So on the next slide, I have a video on how to use the Practice Better food tracking app. But if you want something a little bit more detailed, Practice Better also worked with Cronometer. So if you're really trying to get very accurate to the gram of how much carbs, fats, protein you're having, you can also use Cronometer and link that to your Practice Better. However, it won't show up in the shared recipes section for you. I'm gonna, just to save us time tonight, I'm gonna send that video that's displaying right here on how to food log in the app to the group chat so you have it. But these slides and the recorded presentation will also be sent to you guys in an email and put into Practice Better. So you could take pictures too. Another way of food logging, just to to also mention for everybody is you can just do a photo journal where you just take a picture of what you ate each day for you to reflect back on. There's no calories, no carbs, no fat, no proteins logged with it, but it's really easy to go back and reflect upon too. So I'm showing you all different ways in this video that you can log and practice better. And then I move on to Chronometer. So some tips for better logging is the best food log is the one you're actually going to use. So if you don't like technology and apps, I don't blame you. We're all trying to get off our screens. That's okay. Go based on, maybe you do a photo journal in your phone, just keep an album in your phone. Or maybe you do a written journal in your notes or in an actual journal or a piece of paper. That's fine too. But we got to be real with ourselves. I have some patients that I love to death, but they're so funny. They'll be like, I'm not logging snacks, Amanda. I'm like, okay, well, how am I supposed to help you if I don't see it? How do I know? We got to be real with ourselves, right? There's no judgment in this. It's just a choice. We're not good. We're not bad. There's no morality associated with our food choice. Um, like I said, new recipes have been added to your Practice Better account to save everybody time with logging. And if you're trying to be accurate, the most accurate way to food log is to weigh and measure your foods. And I know sometimes that can get a little convoluted for some, like how many teaspoons are in a tablespoon, etc. There's these good kitchen conversions here at the bottom of the slide. But I personally like to keep a little magnet on my fridge that has those, and it's just also good for recipe making. It saves you some time. So speeding up your food logging, using a food tracking app like Practice Better or Chronometer, they have extensive databases, so that can save you time where you'll just search the food, say I searched apple, press apple, it adds the calories and everything to it, super quick, right? The more you use those apps, the easier it is because it saves your preferences for you. So you'll press breakfast and all your past breakfasts, sorry, will show up there. So the more you use it, one, you also get more familiar with it, but it also learns you and saves you time. Like we said, photo journaling, but it won't track macros. You can create meal templates for your regular meals and snacks if it's something that's not a recipe. You can always add that in Practice Better or Chronometer. So if you have a recipe each week and you're adding it in individually each week, you might as well just make it a recipe to save yourself time. Or my personal hack that I like to do is in Chronometer or in Practice Better, you could add a custom food. And instead, I'll just take the nutrition facts from a recipe as if it's a food and add it in, as opposed to adding every single brand, the portion of each item I added to the recipe, etc. Barcode scanning, Chronometer, it will push and show you a message to opt for premium. There's a small X in the top right corner. Premium's not the only option. You can use it for free. And unlike MyFitnessPal, the barcode scanner is free in Chronometer and free in Practice Better too. So that's, of course, we want to try not to have too many packaged things, but an occasional like That's It bar or protein shake or something, scanning the barcode will save you a lot of time. Batch cooking and logging can be good. So like I said, you could put in a whole recipe for something. If you're going to have this, like you make a soup and you're going to have it 3 times in the week, just put the recipe in and then of course place the exact portion that you ended up having, whether say the soup is 3 cups in total, and then you put, 1 cup in for each time you have it. That can speed up logging. And some apps will allow actual like voice to text entry for logging. Not Chronometer, Practice Better is also starting to implement more AI features when it comes to logging. But down the road, keep your eyes out because the apps are starting to get better and better with when you take a picture, it analyzes the food and tracks it for you. It's just there hasn't been any really great ones out just yet, so that's why I haven't shared them. So next we're going to move more into the Mediterranean diet. So we're just going to do a splash of this today. The next presentation, the recording that we're going to send you guys next week that goes more into macros, also goes much more in depth into the Mediterranean diet. So the Mediterranean diet, we selected it because it's an anti-inflammatory diet. So it helps to reduce risk for chronic disease, which is the greatest killer of Americans. Heart disease, diabetes, cancer, arthritis, PTSD, depression, they're inflammatory conditions, right? So a Mediterranean diet, of course, this is the Mediterranean food pyramid. And of course, you'll see that also more in depth in the next presentation. and in your modules. This is a general rule of thumb that with the Mediterranean diet, the base is actually, routine movement, eating together with family, the family meal table. Then, of course, water is the largest, single nutrient or food, of course, in the diet. So that's why that's the base. And then as you work your way up, you might look at those main meals or the section here, if you could see my arrow of the fruits and vegetables tier, and then the nuts and seeds or the herbs and spices tier. And you might be looking at it like, what's the commonality of all these foods? I see fats with olive oil, I see fruits, I see nuts, I see herbs and spices, I see vegetables. What's the common theme? Even though the Mediterranean diet involves meat, it's a plant-based diet. That plants make up the base foundation of the bulk of what we're eating. So just like our plate, we want to have majority of plants on our plate. We want to try to have our grocery cart follow that. So more than 50% of our grocery cart, we want to try to aim for fruits, vegetables, beans and legumes, nuts and seeds, herbs and spices, just to name a few, because they're all plants that grow from the ground. And with that being said, they're going to be less processed. So there'll be more bioavailable nutrients, meaning that you'll actually absorb the nutrients that are in the food versus them being broken down before they reach our mouth. The more nutrients we take in, like the oleocanthal in olive oil, it's an extremely potent antioxidant, will help our body combat those pro-inflammatory conditions as we get older. With the Mediterranean diet, as we work our way up that tier, you do see dairy. If you individually do not tolerate dairy, maybe you did the Whole30 challenge and you realize dairy is not really for me, that's okay. We could do some swaps. That's totally fine. No one's required to have that. But notice the dairy in the Mediterranean diet. We're not really wanting you guys to focus too much on milk, even though you see a glass there. Like almond milk, coconut milk's going to be better, but the dairy is more so like like a low-fat cottage cheese or a Greek yogurt or a feta cheese or a Romano, a Locatelli, a Parmesan cheese, like those hard cheeses. They're lower in saturated fats and things and higher in protein. And of course, as you work your way up, the Mediterranean diet focuses a lot on seafood and poultry. Um, I come from a family of Sicilian fishermen. Fish is huge in southern Italy, for example, which is a huge fishing capital there. So lots of seafood if you enjoy it, but no guilt if you don't. Chicken, turkey are also great. So they're lean, meaning that there's not a lot of that marbling or that extra fat that contributes extra calories, but also where that fat comes from is important. So if it's beef, as you see as we go up, it's not that there's no beef in the Mediterranean diet. It's just like maybe once, twice a week, right? If you can aim for grass fed, when a food is grass fed, there's more vitamin A, more vitamin E, and the omega-3 content, which the heart healthy fats that also help to lower triglycerides, go up, and the saturated fats go down when we treat those animals better. Also, with that being said, too, it's not like exactly like Gianna was saying. We're not focusing so much on restriction and saying no sweets ever because, when we, tell ourselves for the rest of our life, I'm not going to have ice cream. When we finally break the seal and have ice cream, for some of us, it can lead to this like binge of I'm just going to have a bunch of it now, say goodbye to it, and then never have it again. It's unrealistic expectations. So occasionally having a couple sweet swaps here and there is not the devil, but you want to plan accordingly to have, things on your grocery list to help satisfy that need. So we want to embrace that Mediterranean diet because I'll tease it a little bit next. We're trying to make like a Blue Zones program next time. So Blue Zones are those areas of the world where it's deemed to have more centenarians, right? So like Okinawa, Japan, um, one of the islands off of Italy, I think Ischia is one of them. And then there's areas, of course, in California, for example, where you tend to see pockets of more of these centenarians or people that live to 100. So it's that they're following a Mediterranean-esque diet, and I'll get to what that means. It's a food pattern, right? It's a high consumption of the fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, seeds, olive oil. Um, Wine does get included in classic Mediterranean diets. However, recent studies have concluded, because we used to see those like Harvard heart health studies where, a glass of wine a night can help reduce stress and therefore reduce heart health. That's been deemed debunked. I'm, as if anyone knows me, they know I'm really anti-alcohol in terms of nutrition, just because, and it can come in still every now and then, but I think it's just important to note that there's nothing in alcohol you can't get from something else. Meaning that like people used to say the resveratrol or the anthocyanin, which are different phytonutrients that we'll talk about that come in red wine as like reason to have the wine. Well, I might as well just have grapes. That's better. The alcohol can be a carcinogen. It can stress the liver, which is already trying to process sugar and other, chemicals in our day-to-day lives. And it's also just unnecessary calories, to be honest with you. It's 7 calories per gram, meaning, which we'll go over this more in the presentation, what this stuff means, but fats are 9 calories per gram. So think of like the classic hotel pat of butter that's like close to like 80 calories, but so small, like a little bigger than a quarter. Meanwhile, like an apple, so much bigger in volume, is about the same amount of calories, but 4 calories per gram. Alcohol is 7 calories per gram, so it leans on that denser side. And it's really easy that you have one, that maybe have two, and then the inhibitions come that, oh, I've had some drinks already. Now maybe I'm craving ice cream or I'm craving pizza. And then it also is a depressant in that it can make us, help some fall asleep, they say, but it does impact the depth of sleep we actually get. Um, and then causes burden on the body, and that your body is going to see it as a toxin and is going to prioritize getting rid of that toxin in the body versus prioritizing absorption of more helpful nutrients. So in general, with the Mediterranean diet, use caution with the wine, but everything else, lean on the plants, of course. Studies show that adherence to a Mediterranean diet reduces all cause mortality by 20 to 25%. And I did used to work in research for Stony Brook, and we would study the Mediterranean diet, especially in terms of like cognitive decline and mental health. We were able to show a reduction in anxiety, believe it or not, depression, and PTSD in our research, and specifically 9/11 responders. But it's just a bigger population. And with the cognitive decline, I'm not sure if some of you, heard on the news today, there's a 42% increased likelihood of dementia after age 65. So following a Mediterranean diet rich in healthy fats, fruits and vegetables, and protein can also help to reduce that risk as well. So, of course, we see all those benefits as I've touched upon. You'll see these slides, but depending on what your goals are, the Mediterranean diet helps in broad sweeps to reduce these risks for various conditions. And also, look how beautiful it is. Makes a nice, beautiful, tasty spread on our countertop. So, how do you know you're following a Mediterranean diet closely? This can be really helpful in terms of setting your goals. So, we actually used to score individuals in research to see how closely they're following the Mediterranean diet based on, and then correlate it with, their outcomes, how successful they are. So, what's considered high and versus moderate and low adherence are the scores I have here on the bottom right. So this is like a fun questionnaire. Sometimes if you're not sure, what are the 1 to 3 goals I really want to try to do on my worksheets, right? What do I really want to focus on these next 2 weeks? You could, ask yourself these questions. Cereals and cereal products are a part of this, believe it or not. That means more like oats and like whole grains. So, of course, those soluble fibers and insoluble fibers are great for heart health. So if someone's having greater than 1.5 portions per day, it's been considered high adherence. I know that's a little controversial. Legumes, greater than 2 portions per week. Fresh vegetables, greater than 2.5 portions per week. So these are like, for some of us, real easy to hit, right? The veggies greater than 2.5 portions per day. Fruits, at least 2 per day. For most women, 2 is enough. 3, if we're, more active or typically above 15 or 1600 calories, 3 is usually appropriate. Dairy, if that sits okay with you, less than 1 portion or equal to per day. Fish, if you like those, if you like fish and you enjoy fish, greater than 2 to 2.5 portions per week. portion indicating about 3 ounces. If you don't like fish, and especially fatty fish, I highly recommend an omega-3 supplement, because if you don't get it from salmon, tuna, fatty fish, yes, you can get omega-3s from like chia seeds, ground flax seeds, for example. But typically you have to eat pounds and pounds of it, which would way make us not feel good, way exceed our calories. That having those omega-3s are essential for brain health. Meat, less than one portion a day. What they mean by meat is animals with 4 legs that walk on land, like beef, for example, pork, and then olive oil. It says regular consumption 4 to 5 spoons per day. If someone's goal is weight loss, it's not the most realistic, but you want to try to aim for at least a tablespoon of olive oil per day. And I'm not going to say, do a shot of it. That's an extra 100 calories. Just cook with it. You're going to cook with oil anyway. Try to cook with olive oil. So if you're uncertain where to start, maybe it's you answer these questions and see where you fall, and then maybe pick 2 things that you really want to hone in on that also align with your intentions for the year or the program. I also put a link to the studies that correlate with this. This is just another fun diagram that helps to explain what foods are more anti-inflammatory versus what is more pro-inflammatory, something that we made a while back. The internal circle is red. I used the color of flame, meaning that blue is actually hotter or more inflammatory based on, heat. When you see a blue flame, that's actually a lot hotter than like a red flame to indicate severity of inflammation. So of course you want to aim for foods more towards the middle of the circle. And of course, yellow is going to be less frequent foods, as the key at the bottom says, and the outside circle is going to be more for special occasions. So this can sometimes just be a pretty worksheet that you put in sight or in mind, so that we continue to align with our goals. Lastly, you saw this little image earlier. At the end of the day, this whole thing is about self-love. You're doing this so that you can better yourself. We always want to be our best, happiest, healthiest self. Making change is not always easy. It takes discipline. Discipline is a great thing, though. Communication. If you're struggling, let us know. Share. We're here to help you, but if I don't know that you're struggling, I can't help you. Consistency is key. It's not about, okay, I went out and I ran 10 miles once. Maybe I'm running 2 miles 3 times a week for 5 months. That's going to be better than the 10 miles once. Mindfulness and be prepared, right? If I fail to prepare, prepared to fail. So these are just some fun isms that I always like to look at and just realign myself. We'll send you guys some fun habit tracking, motivational pieces throughout to keep the ball in the air too. But yes, so lastly, does anyone have any questions? Sorry, we went a few moments longer than intended. Any questions from anybody tonight? And then, of course, we want to say thank you to everybody for your time and for jumping in tonight. I know it was a little lengthy, so we definitely appreciate that. I'm going to jump into the chat just real quick and just see if there's any questions. Who do I contact to schedule an in-body evaluation? I would recommend you call our office, Functional Nutrition RX. Of course, the number when you Google Functional Nutrition RX shows up, but it's 631-204-3375 is our number, or info@Functional Nutrition RX. That phone number can be texted or called. Oh, Jen, thank you, the office. Where's the Mediterranean diet located? Along the Mediterranean Sea. So think, Turkey, Greece, Italy are a part of that Mediterranean diet. We're going to go more into that in that recorded presentation. Jen, I love that your goal is to hit your protein. That is awesome. That's perfect. So if you're food logging and you're measuring your protein each day, or just focusing on at least logging your protein, that's a great way to stay aware of it. Paulette, this week's calorie intake. Oh, Paula, if you want, I'll send you a message in Practice Better, so you can see for there. I'll message you tonight. Heather, thank you very much as well. Emily, thank you too. Thank you guys for reaching out in the chat. Can the in-body measurement be done in the late afternoon or evening? So great question, Anne-Marie. The in-body can be, however, the thing to note is with the in-body, it measures fluid balance, right? So if I'm dehydrated, it might underestimate my water because I hold more water in my muscle tissue than my body fat tissue, right? So you want to make sure you're hydrated. If you eat a big meal right before you come in and then step on that scale, it's going to weigh you down more, but believe it or not, it actually puts your body fat lower than what it's supposed to be. So, ideally is to fast, avoid too much caffeine and avoid exercise, very dehydrating things or water shifting activities. However, if you come in the afternoon or the evening, try to just avoid food for 3 hours. Don't be dehydrated. Make it a day that's your off day. Maybe you walk a little that day, but not overt strength training. But if all three of those, if they're not able to be ticked off and you know that's the only time that you can make it, the biggest thing is just keep consistent. So if you eat a meal before you came in for your first measure, then eat a meal for your last measure. Just try to keep it like a research project. Identical protocol before, identical protocol before the last measure as well. How early can the in-body be done? Bernadette comes in at 5 a.m. when elevation opens at on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Sundays. So that could be the earliest. She's typically there from 5 to 1. So yeah, just give us a shout, Anne Marie, and we could definitely get you scheduled. I would just recommend contacting the office. But I think I hit every question in the chat. Am I missing anything, guys?
Amanda, I have a quick question.
Yes.
As far as working out in the morning, I typically don't eat breakfast until about 9:30.
Mm.
So how imperative is it to eat after working out? If I'm doing like a 6 to 7 a.m. workout, like I'm not hungry and I don't need to eat. Like I can wait till 9:30 and that's fine. But should I be eating?
Yes, very good question. For women, it's more important than men to eat sooner the better. But the fact that you're eating within 4 hours of your workout is the first thing. So that's wonderful already. But what happens is your blood supply is going to your limbs, right? We always used to call it like you do a bunch of bicep curls and now you have like a bicep pump. That's, displaying how much the blood is going to the limb to clear the breakdown products of the muscle and then also delivering nutrients to repair it and build it back up. So the more that you can capitalize on that window, the sooner the better. And I understand that I get the same way. I don't get super hungry, but I do nudge the F word, the force it a little bit, just because your body will start to adjust. I know it's uncomfortable at first, so maybe like a smoothie or, easier to digest foods at first if you're, moving it in closer from the gym.
Okay, thank you.
Of course, yeah. Does anyone have any other questions? It does not have to be exactly about the presentation itself, but anything that's just coming to mind in general. I didn't get a chance to look exactly at the group chat. I saw a couple messages went off in there. All right. I will pop into the chat in a moment, but thank you guys so much for sitting in. So our next presentation is not the following Monday, but it's the Monday after on the 21st at 7 p.m. All the presentations will be recorded and thank you again for your time, guys. Have a good
Thank you
night.
all so
Eat a good
much.
meal.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank,
Bye.
thank
Great
you.
job, Tiana. You killed it.
Thank you. Have a good
Hopefully
night.
the
You
math
too.
at work.
Bye.
Christina?